Hello and welcome. Today I'm talking about mistakes that Skyrim modders make along their journey. When I say modders, I'm not referring to mod authors, but players who install mods. Timestamps are in the description for you to jump around, but don't skip too many sections because I also recommend many cool and free programs to make your modding journey better. I'm not affiliated with any of these programs. And while you're at it, share in the comment section if there's any mistakes you've made where you wasted countless hours fixing that mistake. First thing we're going to go over applies to new and veteran modders alike, and that is the mistake is not using time-saving troubleshooting techniques to narrow down your problems quickly. When you have too many mods, inevitably something goes wrong. You could go through and disable every single mod one at a time, but that's not very time efficient. A better way, although not really perfect, which we'll talk about in a bit later, is actually disabling half of them, and you keep disabling in halves until you find the culprit. So let's say we have 100 mods and something goes wrong. The next step, all you need to do is disable half your mods, so you test with 50 mods. And if the game now loads perfectly fine, then the 50 mods you have enabled is most likely okay. You make a note of this and you rinse and repeat the halving process for the other 50 that don't work. Repeat the process again. And I mentioned earlier that this process is not perfect. I mean, there are issues from mods that, interact with each other heavily and they crash, but only when they're together. But running the mods separately, they work just fine. So that's the drawback of this method. If you're just getting back to modding, or maybe you're very eager to start. Hundreds of mods or many multiple mods all at the same time. But what I recommend instead is to start with one easy to install, low requirement, something that you can see with your eyes very quickly. This will help kind of boost your confidence, get the ball rolling, that little snowball rolling, and you add mods slowly as you play and as you test it a few at a time, even one at a time. It's understandable to be eager and to want to add so many mods at the same time, because maybe you've seen some YouTubers showing you some amazing footage of their game and you want it, right? But who doesn't? And this brings us to the next mistake, which is trying to get your game to look like someone else's and forgetting how much time it took them to get it that way. And then you run into a problem where you try to add every of those mods that they have, either your game messes up or it just doesn't look like anything, and then you get frustrated. But one thing to keep in mind is that person who's been modding, they might have a lot more time. They have more patches and mods and maybe something they haven't even told you before. Maybe they forgot about it, or maybe they're doing it on purpose, nobody knows. But overall, eventually one day you're gonna want to have your own mod list of just things that make your game unique and not look like somebody else's. And it's just gonna take time and a lot of patience. Another big mistake is just mod list hopping, jumping around from one mod list to the next too quickly. You're being recommended so many Skyrim mods video. All you gotta do is watch one video on YouTube about modding, and then all of a sudden your whole page is filled with it. Watching more YouTube videos and then seeing more mod lists, and you rinse and repeat this process, but you haven't really given that one mod list that you installed enough time to kind of learn to love. There are quite a bit of mod lists that just takes time to grow and to really discover all the nooks and crannies and to kind of understand how the mod list is put together. Do yourself a favor and give yourself a little bit more time to enjoy it. This next mistake is not using a mod manager suited for your personality, your preference type. Every program has its pros and cons. Perfection doesn't exist. The important thing is that program suited for your personality? What type of person are you? If you want something done with just a few clicks ready to go, get Nexus Vortex. You want more time to customize and tinker and play around and test and do many other things that has so many more powerful features? Get Mod Organizer 2. There's really no bad manager. There's just a program that's more suited for you. And the important thing is actually to understand how each individual program works, right? Nexus is basically plug and play, mostly. You just have to understand how Nexus handles the staging process. Mod Organizer 2 is more intimidating. It's going to require more research, more learning. It just takes time. So that's why you should think long term and make sure to back up your hard work once you're done with the process. This leads us to our next mistake. That's not backing up your profiles, your load orders, your download. Any day from now, your computer could crash. Don't want to say that, but I know that's the chance because it has happened to me and many other people before. So you want to have some sort of backup option. I use a program called Copia. Hope I said it right. It's a free open source software to backup. You set it on a schedule, everything will be done automatically, and then, put it onto an external drive. And of course, probably one of the most important thing about backup is make sure to test your backup. See that it actually works. You don't test it, it's basically a useless backup. And then once you're done backing up, you unplug it from your computer, store that external hard drive into a safe place. That way, if your computer catches a virus, it doesn't affect the external hard drive. And another minor thing is, once you back up, you don't have to worry about, the Modlist page going down or the page or the mod going down itself. You still have a local copy. And as for viruses, don't worry too much about them. Many people, myself included, have modded and downloaded thousands of mods, no viruses. Just make sure you do your due diligence, get your source from a good place like Nexus Mods, where you can find tons of useful programs. On the topic of programs, the next mistake is not giving new programs a chance. Programs like Wabbajack and Mod Organizer, there's just so many options that open to you when you try different programs. You can get the collection features on Vortex or Wabbajack Modlist. You get less stress, more stable game. The majority of the Modlists have had extensive testing by someone else, by the community, who have modded Skyrim for years. I first heard about Wabbajack a long time ago, years ago. And it took me another few more years before I even started using Wabbajack because I was, quite frankly, very lazy. I didn't have time. I didn't want to research and set up and all that. It just felt like so much mental energy. But I heard about it more on Reddit and on some YouTube, and then people were just pointing me in the right direction. So that's why it's important to kind of stay tuned with a community such as on YouTube or anything else that allows you to kind of know about these programs. So definitely stay tuned and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of these type of videos on tools and setups and how-tos. Another mistake is not utilizing the powerful features that mod managers offer. Profiles are extremely powerful because it allows you a kind of like a sandbox testing ground, so you can have one profile for just the main mod list that you basically don't touch. It's very, very stable. Another one for testing a bunch of different mods that might be questionable, and another profile for an active playthrough. And so you kind of switch between the mods and making your life so much easier. I can tell you that once you start using profile, you will never, ever, ever stop. The next mistake is not keeping notes of your modding journey and experience. Unless you have a photographic memory, which only a very small percentage of people do, there's only so much you can remember, and note-taking program to your journey is like adding a second brain. It's like adding an SSD to your body. I used many note apps before, but I recently moved to Obsidian. It's free, I'm not sponsored, not affiliated. I just like it because it's very easy to use, and you can back up your notes easily since it's a markdown format. In my notes, I keep track of how to do stuff that I might forget a few months or a few years from now. I can't remember. And, I keep also a little page of all the mods that I love, maybe some that have trouble, the author's name, link of some notes, and then a little note of my personal experience with them, how I feel about it, because later in the long term, I want to look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. And if I don't have it, very hard to remember. So the mistake before installing mods is basically doing something that many people, including myself, have been guilty of. And that's not doing preliminary readings before downloading. You're eager, understandable. Let's say downloading a huge mod list or something that's giant, huge, hundreds of gigabytes. You want to check that the help for that mod list is active, right? The Discord, the GitHub, the Nexus comments. Make sure that they're active. Let's see what people are saying. Just a few of those top comments. Because the last thing you want to do is download 200 gigs. You have no help available, a dead Discord link, and people are saying a bunch of problems. But if you had read it, you didn't need to waste your time. Also, make sure to check for compatibility and requirements, because without those, you will create some weird funky stuff, like sometimes having a character that looks like a total mess. So which brings us to another mistake, is not manually creating your own personalized little mod list from scratch. When you start creating your own from just a few mods, and you start understanding the load order and how it all fits in together, and understanding how all the pieces fit together, allows you to have a much more pleasant experience when you're troubleshooting. But if you start your journey with just a giant mod list of something that somebody already created, and then all of a sudden one day you're adding more mods to it, and then everything breaks, now you're gonna have a hard time trying to put the pieces together, because it's overwhelming with thousands and thousands of mods. So another big mistake is not checking your Skyrim version number before downloading. So here's what you do. First, you gotta find out the name of your Skyrim. So as you know, the old original Skyrim from 2011, you have the Legendary Edition, you have the Steam Skyrim Special Edition, and most recently, the Anniversary Edition, which is a DLC, sometimes referred to as an update, which installs on top of the Skyrim Special Edition. Then there's a GOG Skyrim. This is crazy, especially for new people getting into modding. Most people will have Skyrim Special Edition, SE, which is easier and more straightforward to mod with. Some will have GOG Skyrim, which can have issues with some mod support. As of August 2024, I'm using Skyrim Special Edition, version 1.6.1170.0 from Steam. So far, so good, no problem. And I think it's the easiest to work with. I imagine one day we'll be quote unquote forced to upgrade to the Anniversary Edition. That's just gonna be in the future. And also because some newer mod lists will only support Anniversary Edition, which will now start migrating people to the AE Edition, the Anniversary Edition. I can already see a new version being released somewhere in the near future before Elder Scrolls 6. And you're gonna be seeing me on this very same channel saying, introducing the Skyrim Super Legendary Special Anniversary Pre-ES6 Edition. Guys, my mods are broken. So after all this fiasco is said and done, you check for the version number. You can do it while you're inside the game, or you can check in the .exe file of Skyrim. So you navigate to your game folder, you find your Skyrim.exe file, right click, go to properties, click the detail tab, look for the product version, and you can see mine says 1.6.1170.0. Now that you have this two important information in mind, one, your Skyrim name, and two, your Skyrim version number, now you go and you read the mod requirements. You focus on the version number. Unless the mod or the mod list really explicitly say something like, you need Anniversary Edition. In this case, you absolutely have to have Anniversary Edition. No exception, or else the installation fails. Yes, it happened to me. Speaking from experience, yeah, this is something that happened to me. I was eager, it was my fault, my responsibility. I was a lazy bum, I didn't read. So we're reaching the end of the video. I want to thank you all for being here and listening, and let us all know in the comment section the mistakes you made, and that way the community can learn, because the best gift we can have for ourselves and other people is the gift of learning from the mistakes of others. That way we're not wasting time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.